Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I apologize for the delay in this video. I've been just kind of trying to figure out how I best want to proceed with this final part of the curriculum, as well as trying to give you all feedback and comments on your rhetorical responses. So because this took a little bit longer to get up to you, and usually our assignments are due Wednesday at midnight. You're welcome to take an additional 24 hours if you need. When you do submit your assignments, it'll look as though it's late, but you'll still receive credit. So that's the first thing we're going to kind of go over here as we move into today's lesson. So what you will have due today by midnight or Thursday if you need it is the following. You'll need to have completed the following. You'll need to view the lecture on inquiry questions and stakeholders, which is exactly what you are doing right now. And the notes that accompany this are all posted under the Week 12 materials module in Canvas. After you've done that or before, you will need to peruse the research bank, which I'll take us to in a second. And basically it's just a document with a lot of different links about different topics that you'll want to choose from as you're moving into your research. Now, these documents and sources, they center around several different broader issues. If you decide moving forward that you want to research something that is completely different, and I'm going to kind of go over the requirements, which might make it clear to you what kinds of topics you can research. If you decide on researching a topic that's not on that kind of list of sources, just shoot me an email because I just want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success in the final assignment that we're going to be working on, which will use that research. So you'll want to peruse that. You'll want to kind of really just start thinking about what is it that you want to investigate. And then you'll need to complete discussion post number 5, which is kind of a research brainstorm where you're starting to really think about a particular topic. So again, that is what is due by Wednesday at midnight. And if you need an additional 24 hours, feel free to take it. Just be aware that there's also going to be an assignment due on Friday as well. Some quick announcements that I really just want to make sure we're clear on. I have been working on getting you feedback and comments on your rhetorical responses. Just because of the nature of this new reality, it is taking a bit longer. So I'm going to do my best to get those comments to you by the end of the week. So I'll have those to you by Friday. And then your final draft of A3 will be due by Monday, April 20th at midnight. Okay. All right. And then finally, before we move into the lesson or instruction, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with a couple of things. So in a second, I'm going to take us back to the Canvas page just to make sure we know what we're looking at and we are doing what we need to do every day and know how to interact with the Canvas page. The other thing that I wanted to remind you all about is that I sent an email out with instructions on how to adjust your peer review feedback for your peers. And I haven't yet had a chance to go back through and see who has made those adjustments and who hasn't. But if you haven't had a chance to either offer your peer feedback or to make those adjustments, make sure you do so at least by the end of the week if you want to receive any credit. I'm trying to be a little bit more flexible because I know that we're all in kind of different situations. So in terms of due dates, I'm willing to allow some leeway. But if you aren't able to give your peer feedback or the adequate amount of feedback by the end of this week, you are going to lose some points. The last thing that I wanted to take us to is the Canvas page, just to make sure that we're all clear on how everything works. So originally what I did is I had the materials listed in modules and the assignments listed on the calendar so that the assignments would appear in your feed. Now I have the assignments listed on the calendar still, so they should still be appearing in your feed, but I also have everything listed under modules. So if it's easier for you to have everything in one place, it's all here. The one of the adjustments I made because our conferences platform wasn't really working is to change office hours to Zoom, and so this is how you can access it. This will always be posted at the top of the modules page. You have a sign up sheet. You are welcome to come into the meeting even if the sign up sheet is not even if you haven't signed up. The purpose of this is just so you kind of have a sense of when other people will be there. So I have here, like, I have for every 30 minutes, 2 student slots. Because I am conferencing right now with students in my other course, I've filled the entire half-hour slot, but in general, you should be able to sign up at least 2 to a slot. And again, this is just for you to see kind of when I might be a little bit busier, so you can decide when you wanna pop in. So that is the sign-up sheet, and then if you go back to modules, you can see the Zoom meeting link, and you should be able to get in just by going straight through to that link. And then everything that you need for the assignments is going to be listed under the modules in week by week, and everything that is due day by day, right? So generally we'll have something due Wednesday and Friday by midnight, and sometimes something on Monday. Everything that you need in order to do that assignment is going to be linked in the instructions, but I also am including these materials down here, right? So you have them in a couple of places, and that's less to be confusing and more to make sure you just have access to exactly what you need. So again, if you have any questions about what is due and when, please email me, but make sure you're emailing me specific questions, right? Because there's a lot of instructions that go into this, and it's easier if I know exactly what you are unsure of. All right, so now that we have reviewed the interface, I want to take some time to give you the instructions needed to complete the work for tonight or Thursday, depending on your preference. So to start us off, I want to just do a quick review of the conversation model or conversation metaphor, which we addressed early on at the beginning of class. So just as a reminder, we started in this place of listening, so being able to really clearly articulate what an author is saying. From there, we moved into kind of bringing some of our own ideas into it through the use of reflection as well as rhetorical analysis. So still kind of beginning with what the author believes and understands, and then starting to allow our own ideas to creep in. For this assignment, we are going to move into a more active role, asking questions and moving towards our own research and our own ideas. So last week I had us, in order to prepare for synthesis and an understanding of synthesis, I had us look at several different articles and kind of compare and contrast them, which you all wrote about in your discussion posts. And we're going to put that on hold for another day before we circle back to that assignment. But it is going to come into play as we move towards this next assignment. So just to give us an overview of where we're headed, you are ultimately going to, over the next 4 weeks, be researching a specific problem that impacts members of the CSU community. You're going to be devising a research question that drives your research and articulating a viable solution for this problem. Your final assignment will be due Wednesday of finals week and will be a problem solution editorial, which communicates the problem and solution and is focused towards members of the CSU community. So you'll notice that in the research bank document that I provided on Canvas, that all of the issues relate specifically to students, CSU students, or or something along those lines, something that involves the campus community. I have also included a section at the bottom for COVID-19 related issues in case anyone wants to kind of go off in that direction or anyone feels the need to really immerse themselves in that. I also get that maybe some of you are like, I'm ready to kind of be done thinking about COVID, but I thought since it's something that's happening and unfolding right now, it might be of interest to you. So again, up to you. But the first step here is to really identify a specific problem and come up with an inquiry question that supports that problem. Now, there are a couple of things that you want to keep in mind when you are devising your inquiry question, because an inquiry question is different than any old question that you might ask when you're doing research, right? You might ask questions that have factual answers just in order to better understand a topic, but that is different than an inquiry question. An inquiry question is a question that drives your research, right? So you want to make sure a couple of things, and the first is that your question is open-ended. Good inquiry questions are open-ended, and generally a person can't just answer yes or no. There are usually multiple answers, and different stakeholders have different people have different opinions about the answers to questions like this. So for example, the question of should universities lower the cost of living on campuses? This is a question that is debatable, but you can answer it so easily. You can answer it as yes or no, and it doesn't really open up your reader to a multitude of possibilities, and which doesn't allow your research to go in several different directions, right? You're either researching yes or no. However, this question, what is the most effective way for a university to lower the cost of living on campuses? This all of a sudden just opens up several different paths of research, right? So now you're researching several different ways for universities to lower a campus cost, right? So really thinking about questions that allow for multiple answers. And I should probably be clear that this is a non-example. So this is a weaker example versus this, which is a much stronger question. And then you want to make sure the question is clearly stated. And by clearly stated, I mean specific. So every single word counts. Once again, we've talked about this before. You know what you mean, but your reader might not know what you mean. And the more specific you are with the question that you lay out, the more specific you are in the research that you do, and the more focused your editorial is going to ultimately be, right? So if I say, what are the benefits of the Greek system? That can take me in so many different directions, right? And I ultimately end up researching a lot of different things. However, if I get really specific and I say, what are the academic benefits for freshmen in the Greek system? Now my research is much more narrow and it's much more manageable, to be completely honest. I have here just quickly a kind of chart that takes you from topics that are a little bit more broad or ideas that are a little bit more broad to more specific. So if you find yourself in a place of trying to kind of articulate questions about this, really thinking about how you can get even more specific with your issue so that your question is ultimately super, super specific. All right, so that brings us back to what is due by Wednesday at midnight or Thursday if you choose. So at the top of your discussion post, include an image or a meme that represents your mood today, just so we can all sort of check in with each other and see how we're doing. You are going to be responding to one another's posts, so just be aware of that as you are crafting your response for today. You'll be doing that for Friday. Identify 2 important things from the video that you need to keep in mind when crafting an inquiry question. Look through the research bank, and it's linked here, to find a topic that is of interest to you and that you might be interested in writing about, and then answer the following questions about this topic in 200 to 300 words. So Here you'll be kind of talking about what you're interested in and identifying problems and questions.